paddled by my lady. The great manor house stood proudly against the rolling green fields, its stone walls catching the golden light of the late afternoon sun. Inside, the air buzzed with preparation. Tonight, the noble household was to host a feast, and every servant was expected to perform their duties flawlessly. Among them was Emma, a 20-year-old peasant girl, thin from years of labor, her simple brown wool dress marked with patches from long use. She had lived under her lady's service since she was a child, and though she worked hard, hunger often gnawed at her belly. Her mistress, the noblewoman who ruled the household, was known for her strict but fair nature. Draped in a deep green gown trimmed with gold thread, she moved through the manor halls with calm authority, ensuring her guests would find everything in perfect order. Emma's task was simple yet vital: help in the kitchen and oversee the trays that would be carried into the hall later that evening. The temptation of food. The kitchen that day was unlike anything Emma usually experienced. The long wooden tables were covered with delicacies, roasted venison glistening with juices, baskets of freshly baked bread still warm from the oven, bowls of ripe apples and pears, and even a plate of honey-drizzled pastries. To Emma, who often ate only porridge or stale crusts, the sight and smell of such food was overwhelming. Her stomach growled as she stirred a pot, the rich scent filling her lungs until her resolve weakened. No one seemed to be watching. The cook was busy shouting orders, other servants carried trays to and fro, and her lady was elsewhere in the manor. With trembling fingers, Emma reached out and broke a small piece of bread, quickly stuffing it into her mouth. The flavor was heavenly. One piece became another, and soon she dared to reach for a slice of roasted meat. She chewed quickly, heart racing, glancing about nervously. She thought herself clever, unnoticed, but she was not unseen. The confrontation. A sharp voice cut through the noise of the kitchen. "What do you think you are doing?" Emma froze, the half-chewed meat in her mouth turning to ash. She turned slowly, and there stood her mistress. The noblewoman's piercing eyes, the color of storm clouds, were fixed upon her. Against the backdrop of her rich green gown, her presence seemed larger than life, commanding silence from everyone in the room. "My lady, forgive me, Emma stammered, nearly choking. "You dare take what is not yours?" The noblewoman's voice carried across the kitchen. Servants nearby lowered their heads, avoiding her gaze. "Food prepared for my honored guests, stolen before their very eyes have seen it." Emma fell to her knees, trembling. "Please, my lady, I was hungry, I meant no harm, no harm." The noblewoman stepped forward, the hem of her gown brushing the stone floor. "A servant who takes what is not hers dishonors this household. If my guests should notice missing food, it is not only your shame, but mine." Tears welled in Emma's eyes. "It will not happen again, I swear it." The noblewoman's expression hardened. "You are right. It will not, because you will learn." With a gesture, she dismissed the other servants from the kitchen. They hurried away, whispering to each other, leaving Emma alone under her mistress's stern gaze. The punishment. The noblewoman's footsteps echoed as she crossed to a tall cupboard. From within, she drew out a sturdy wooden paddle, its surface polished from long use. It was no kitchen tool, it was an implement of discipline, kept for moments such as these. "Stand," she commanded. Emma obeyed, trembling, her hands twisting in the folds of her dress. "You are 20 years old," the noblewoman said firmly. "You are no child, yet you act with the thoughtlessness of one. Hunger does not excuse disobedience. You will be corrected, here and now." "My lady, please, silence. Bend over the table." Emma's knees buckled, but she did as told, pressing her hands flat on the heavy wooden surface, her face burning with shame. The smell of roasted meat and baked bread mocked her as she braced herself. The noblewoman stood behind her, lifting the paddle. Each stroke will remind you of your place, your duty, and the cost of carelessness. The first strike landed with a sharp crack. Emma gasped, gripping the table hard. The sting spread like fire through her, and her eyes watered. Another blow followed, harder this time. Her mistress's voice rang steady, "For stealing from what is sacred in this house." Crack. The paddle struck again, making Emma's breath hitch. Crack. Another, firm and deliberate. The noblewoman counted each stroke, her tone measured, never raising her voice, never losing control. "This household runs on trust. When you betray it, you betray me." Emma squirmed, tears streaming down her face. "I will not do it again, my lady, I swear." Crack. The paddle fell again. "You will not, because you will remember this lesson." The punishment continued until the noblewoman deemed the point made. She lowered the paddle at last, her stern gaze never wavering. "Stand up." Emma rose slowly, wiping her eyes, her whole body trembling. The aftermath and lesson. The noblewoman set the paddle aside and folded her hands. Her expression softened only slightly. "You are young, Emma, but old enough to know better. You must understand, discipline is not cruelty. It is order. Without it, this household falls into chaos, and I will not allow it." "Yes, my lady," Emma whispered, voice hoarse, "you will continue your duties tonight as if nothing has happened. You will serve the guests with respect. And when you look upon the food, you will remember this lesson." "Yes, my lady." The noblewoman leaned closer, her voice low but clear. "If you ever steal again, the punishment will be far harsher. Do you understand?" "I do, my lady." Satisfied, the noblewoman gestured for her to return to her work. Emma bowed her head and moved back toward the trays, though every step reminded her of the sting left behind. As the evening drew on, the feast began. Laughter and conversation filled the grand hall, nobles raising their goblets in cheer. Emma moved quietly among them, carrying trays of bread and fruit, her eyes lowered in humility. The smell of the food tempted her again, but this time she did not waver. Each pang of hunger was a reminder of her mistress's paddle, of the lesson carved into her memory. When her lady glanced her way from across the hall, Emma quickly lowered her gaze. But deep down, she knew she had been corrected not out of cruelty, but out of a stern care that demanded she grow into responsibility. The noblewoman's household was one of order, discipline, and loyalty. And Emma, chastened and humbled, resolved never again to let her hunger rule over her duty.